I'm John Chalmers, Convener of the Assembly Trustees, and I'm here with Dave Kendall, our Chief Officer. And in conversation with each other, we want to tell you something about the work of the Assembly Trustees. You should also watch the presentation from Dr. Russell Barr, who will outline our proposals for Giving to Grow, the proposed new scheme to replace the current ministry and mission contribution system.
John, could you start by saying something about church life as the trustees have seen it during these unprecedented times?
Dave, we think of colleagues who have had to deal with the nation's loss and grief, and yet have done so at a physical distance. We think of ministers and congregations who, from a standing start, put church life online and sustained worship and fellowship as never before. Then we think of the work of Crossreach, delivering elderly care services in the most challenging of circumstances, and local congregations who have comforted the lonely, delivered food to struggling families, and partnered with their communities as never before. Across the whole church, it is extraordinary what people have done, showing versatility, adaptability, imagination and determination. Together, they have proved that we as a church can adapt and change.
John, it's been a tough year though, and some people feel that it's time for a break. Not time for cutting back, cutting our cloth or balancing the books. What is the vision that the Assembly Trustees are holding out to the church?
Well, first of all, Dave, you and I belong to local congregations, and we recognise what ministers and congregations are feeling. Yeah. So, in response, over this year and next, we are committing at least £17 million of the church's reserves to help our recovery from the effect that the pandemic has had on the life of our church. Of course, as trustees, we recognise that it's critical for us to manage our finances so that we leave congregations what they need for local mission. But most importantly of all, you're right, we need a clear vision. And that vision could not be more clearly expressed than in the headline of the Faith Action Plan. It is to inspire the people of Scotland and beyond with the good news of Jesus Christ through enthusiastic worshipping, witnessing, nurturing, and serving communities. So none of what we do is of any consequence if it's not about helping people to meet and serve Christ, to explore their faith and deepen their discipleship.
But where does it say that in the report to the General Assembly?
Well, we say at the start of our report that we seek the will and purpose of God in the work for which the trustees are responsible. And for me, that means ensuring that the resources of the church must follow the priorities that were first set out in the Radical Action Plan and are now incorporated in the Faith Action Plan. So throughout the report, there are practical and strategic proposals to use our people and financial resources where they will make the most difference to the mission of the church.
But what do you say to those people who are afraid of the changes that are being flagged up in this report? Fewer buildings, fewer ministries, larger presbyteries, more restructuring. People often ask me, when will we get back to normal?
Well, Dave, if by normal you mean the way things were before the 2019 General Assembly, then there's no way back there. Deficit budgeting used up £14 million of our reserves in the 5 years to 2019. Duplication of effort across 4 councils. A lack of joined up working and talented staff disempowered. In 2 short years, we have fulfilled a major part of the remit given to us by the Special Commission. And the only way forward is not back to normal, but it is on to the reconfiguration of the church for mission.
Can I press you then to be more precise than that? Eliminating deficits and repairing some of the failings of the past doesn't spell out the plans for the future. What does the report have to say that gives the church a sight of what we should be building on?
In our report, you will see that we want the new presbyteries to be properly resourced to become the agents who can redesign the church for mission. We propose giving to grow, which makes clear that the funding of the local church is a priority. We recognise that recruitment for ministry at all levels has fallen far short of our needs. We need to turn that around while making more use of the talent within our membership. We believe that we have to make plans around a realistic and affordable number of ministries. We still think that our people and our money can be used more efficiently. So we propose continuing conversations with the forums on how best to oversee and deliver the work for which they are responsible. And we are placing a high value on a fresh approach to training a new generation of leaders, which is one of the ways in which the growth of new forms of church can be established and sustained.
John, I understand what you're saying because I'm familiar with the work of the trustees through my role. But how do you get that sense of vision over to the wider church? And is it possible to get buy-in across this complex and multifaceted church?
Dave, it's probably not about getting buy-in as much as it is about offering something valuable that encourages people to take part in. And given the possibilities that there are for new initiatives in mission, new forms of church life, and enterprises with the under 40s, there's plenty for people to engage with. Let's see people using the new Small Grants Fund for work that supports our desire to inspire the people of Scotland and beyond with the good news of Jesus Christ. And yes, let's each of us find a place in the Faith Action Plan. There's something in it for everyone, whether it's the pursuit of climate justice, a call to some form of ministry, the development of partnerships across the world, or a new mission initiative at home. Our very future as a national church depends on moving to the redesign of the church at every level for mission. And there's something for everyone to contribute in achieving this.
Could you be more precise about what redesigning the church for mission will look like at the congregational level?
Well, Dave, here are 3 examples to offer. The first is to look at the revolution in the presence of the church online that has happened over this past year. Our planning for mission needs to take forward the best of what we've learned and make this a major part of our planning. The second important example comes from Shetland. Shetland is now part of the new presbytery of Aberdeen and Shetland. Once Shetland was 13 separate charges, and now it has become one parish. Shetland will go from over 30 buildings to 11. And the money from the sale of the surplus buildings will be invested so that the buildings they retain become well-equipped spaces in the right places. It's that kind of radical mission planning that is required across the whole church. The third example, Dave, is a hard reality. Sadly, there are congregations which have reached a tipping point from which there is no way back. It's not that people haven't been faithful and prayerful and hopeful, but time has caught up with them. And in many places, the future of the church will not be built around the places where some of our present congregations are based. If we are serious about planting 100 new congregations, then don't think of them as being formed around buildings and kirk sessions and congregational boards. Take a look at the Breaking New Ground Zoominar that Trinity Glasgow hosted recently. This may give you an idea of the radical overhaul of church life that lies in front of us. Dave, in the next 5 years, I know that I will be bidding farewell to many of the things that I love about church, which fit my world of church, but they don't fit the world of my children or their children. That's the level of change that is required. It will not be without pain, but if we have the courage, it will be inspirational.
John, tell us finally, what has been the hardest thing about the work of the trustees?
Dave, an old friend of mine used to say that you could have Presbyterianism or you could have efficiency, but you couldn't have both. I think that the hardest thing about the work of the trustees is blowing that myth. We can be Presbyterian and efficient, but that means we don't have to micromanage every issue at an annual meeting. Instead, it means empowering folk at every level to inspire the people of Scotland and beyond with the good news of Jesus Christ. Dave, thank you.
Thank you, John.